Hi, juniors. Oh gosh, another group, not us. Okay, hi. Hi, can you wave maybe if you want to talk sometimes? Let me know you're here, checking in. Great, good. My name is Miss O'Malley, Division Chair for Math and Science. Mr. Lamantia, Division Chair for Special Ed and ELL. We are going to speak to you guys today about the keys to academic success because we want you guys to be successful this year. And things are going to look a little bit different than how they usually do, and so we just want to make sure that we're able to give you some sound advice going into this year so that you make the most of it, that you learn, you come out successful on the end. Okay? Or in the end. So without further ado, Mr. Lamantia is going to speak to you about integrity, ownership, and speaking with good purpose.
Okay, so let me just set this up a little bit. There was a study done about 15 years ago about the 100 to 150 most successful people of all time. So these are not just businessmen who have been successful. These are wildly successful people that changed history. And what they did is they studied each one of them. It was across cultures. It was across internationally. It was a global identification of the 150 most successful people, the 150 people who changed the world the most. And what they did is they studied them from a mindset of what made them successful. What traits did they share together? And these are the 8 traits that they all shared, and it led to their success. And the lesson here is this. These are traits that you could develop. These are all habits. These are not things that you necessarily are good and bad at. These are things that you grow in, okay? So you don't just have integrity or take ownership. You have to purposefully be a person of integrity, be a person who takes ownership. So that's an important message here. So what we're going to do is we'll go through the first 8 characteristics of wildly successful people. The first one is integrity, okay? People kind of have an idea of what integrity is. When I first think of it, but it's really hard to put into words, right? Integrity, we know it kind of probably relates to being sincere, honest, and real. But here's the definition I want you to remember about integrity. Integrity is when your actions and your words match your values and beliefs. Okay? So you mean what you say, and you back that up with actions. That's what a person with integrity does. And I think you can see that that's an important, really, really important thing if you want to be successful. You need to know yourself, know your values and beliefs so well that you're willing, that your actions match your values and beliefs. Okay? The opposite is being a hypocrite, right? A hypocritical person is the exact opposite of a successful person, because what they do is they put the pressure on you. They tell you what you should do, and they speak with these great words, but they don't follow up themselves with actions, and that eventually catches up with them. Successful people are much simpler, and simpler doesn't mean it's easier. It's just a more direct approach. They mean what they say, and they back it up with action. Okay? So what is in it for you? What is being a person of integrity in for you? It allows you 2 things. It allows you to know yourself and accept yourself. Because if you know your values well enough to back them up with action, you're a person that is comfortable in their own skin and knows themselves. It also allows you to develop positive relationships. Okay? The second one is ownership. It goes right along with integrity. Okay, this is the Rams are responsible one. Right, but we're going to look at it from just a slightly different angle. Ownership is about taking control. It's about putting you in the driver's seat. It's about you taking control of your life. And part of taking control of your life is being responsible for your actions and owning your actions. Okay? When you own your actions, you can learn from them and you can grow from them. When you own your actions, you're taking responsibility. And that's important because it allows you to accept the results and grow from them. It also does something really important. People that own their actions have control of their life, and it actually gives you something, allows you to earn something that actually can't be given to you. It allows you to earn the trust, excuse me, the respect and trust of others. People will learn to respect you when you take control of your actions and take responsibility for them. Okay? Enough of that. We'll move into the speaking with good purpose. Okay? All these kind of go together. So speaking with good purpose is about knowing yourself and knowing what your intentions are. Okay? And being really purposeful with what we say. It's super easy, especially when we're frustrated, especially when we're angry, to blurt out things that we know we're going to later regret. I cannot tell you how many times I wish that I could get a fishing pole and take those words back. I think we all have lived in that world, right? Where we're like, oh man, that didn't come out right, oh man, I wish I didn't say that, oh man, that's not what I meant, okay? Speaking with good purpose is not about being perfect. We're all going to make those mistakes. Speaking with good purpose is the habit of thinking about what you say before you say it and making sure that your intentions and words match. The intentions of your words need to be communicated. Okay? So it's about thinking before you speak and being very purposeful of what your words mean, and that's about it. Remember that words are very powerful. We know that. What we say to someone can build them up. It can also tear them down. So speak in a way that builds others up. Okay?
Moving on, the next key to success is being flexible. Mr. Lamantia, tree pose, ready, set, go. Ah, yes, very good. Namaste. You are going to be very successful. It's not what we mean here in terms of flexibility, right? Being flexible means being able to react to a situation, being able to adapt to that situation, and hopefully being able to overcome that situation. So back in March, things were going as usual, right? Easy peasy. And then all of a sudden, we sent everybody home one day, never to return, right, for the end of the school year. We could have never expected that to happen. But in that situation, we had to react, we had to adapt, and hopefully overcome those changes, those obstacles. So we, as employees here, had to think of a plan to make sure that you were able to finish out your school year. Okay, that was our job. And then your job was to basically work independently from home, to react to the situation that now you're not going to be in the classroom anymore, to adapt to being behind your Chromebook, okay, completing your assignments, and hopefully you overcame and you were able to improve your grade, right? Some of us did a better job of that than others, okay? But it's important that we remain flexible in these ever-changing times. There could be another change coming, right? So we just have to be mindful. We always have to do our best. We have to give it our all. And in the event that things change, we have to stay informed, we have to stay in tune, we always have to be checked in and remain flexible to make sure that we can overcome any situation, any challenges or obstacles that come our way.
Okay, so this next key, failure leads to success. It's probably one of the more misunderstood ones. Did anybody watch The Last Dance? It's a story about the 90s, the Goals, their last season when they won a championship.
What else did you watch during quarantine if you didn't watch The Last Dance?
Nobody watched it? Okay, well, let me tell you, Michael Jordan, obviously, in my opinion, is the best basketball player to ever play the game. Now, I know there's going to be some people who disagree. You're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. He was so good for one reason, okay? In the moment, he wanted that ball. He wanted to be the guy that took the final shot. And what's important about that is to know that he failed more than he succeeded. He missed more shots than he made in those big moments. But that didn't stop him. That fear of failure did not stop him from wanting the ball, from taking the shot. And that's really important. That's kind of embodies what failure leads to success is. It's about developing an understanding that failure is is not the opposite of success. Failure is truly part of the road to success. And the only way that it can be part of your success is if you're willing to look back at what happened in a moment where you might have made a mistake and do two things. Be kind to yourself. We all make mistakes. We all experience failures. There is not one single person on the face of this earth that has not made a mistake or experienced a failure. The difference is how they approach it. Some people allow failures to define them. You cannot let your failures define you. Okay? Failures are nothing more than opportunities to learn. Okay? Think about what went wrong. Think about how you might want to change it moving forward. Okay? The problem is not learning from your mistakes. Okay? It's not making mistakes. It's not experiencing failures. The true failures are when you refuse to learn from them and you repeat them without thinking about how you might change it. Okay? So the idea is that being afraid of failure is something we have to live with. You know, whenever we do something new or whenever we do something that's kind of important to us, we are going to experience that fear. But that fear can't stop you from trying and going forward. When we allow the fear to stop us from experiencing things and trying things, that's when we're going down the wrong road. The road to success is about understanding it's okay to be afraid, but still moving forward and taking good risks. Okay?
Next is commitment. So you guys are officially on the road to graduation. Hopefully we're about halfway there, right? 2 more years, and then you can call it quits here at Revis, right?
Moving on.
Yeah, right? So what are we going to be committed to in terms of our academic success? Well, you can't really be committed to your academics unless you set goals for yourself, right? So I challenge you today, when you meet your teachers later this morning and you're sitting in your classrooms, to just think about a goal. Okay, how do you envision finishing first semester? Okay, think of that goal, think of that vision, set that for yourself, and then commit to that goal. Okay, that's your challenge for today. All right, because you need to understand that everything is going to count this semester. So back in the spring, when we kind of had to take a time out and we didn't know what was going on, your grades weren't harmed, right? You could improve your grade, but it pretty much stayed the same, okay? You're not going to have that much flexibility this time around. So if your teacher pushes out a video to you, you got to watch it. If they give you some questions to answer, you got to answer them. If you're asked to write a paper, you got to write it, okay? Because we are keeping track of grades, and in order to earn credit, you have to complete what's asked of you, okay? And your teachers are here to help you along the way, to give you feedback, but you have to show them evidence of your learning if you're going to receive credit for your courses this semester. And junior year is an important year. I'm sure you've heard that before. And it's going to be difficult because we are conditioned to learn as students, right? You've been doing this since preschool, kindergarten. You're in school 5 days a week. You see your teachers, you see your classmates, you see your friends. It's a different dynamic than working from home 3 of those 5 days. It's going to be challenging because a lot depends on you. You can't depend on those others in those face-to-face situations. Okay, so set goals for yourself. Commit to those goals. We want to see you succeed. It's going to be difficult. But if you have a vision, a strong vision in mind, you will be able to get there with the support of people in this building and with your own strength too. Oh, and one final thing. There's no final exams. Woo! So that might be a good thing, right? For Mr. Valentine, it's a good thing. So you might be the type of person who tries really hard all semester long. You have a good grade going into the final, and you're like, I hate finals because I'm not a good test taker, and they always bring my grade down. So that's helpful for you, right? But if you're the type of student who's kind of like, I'm just going to kind of skate by, I know I'm going to get a good grade on my final, it's 20% of my final grade that's going to bring my grade up, you can't depend on that this year. Okay? So just keep that in mind.
Okay, so back to that study of successful people for one minute. This is it. This is it as the next key. And what they found with this is that they looked at how people spent their time and where they lived they found is this, is that highly successful people spend 80% of their time and energy in the moment they're living in the present. Now notice I didn't say 100, right? Because it's important to look at our past, right? And think about what happened, and think about the good and the bad, right? It's important to look into the past because it gives us some valuable information. But we can't dwell there, okay? 10% of your time is not dwelling there. So they would spend 10% of their time there, and they'd spend 10% of their time thinking about their vision for the future, thinking about where they're going. But the bulk of their time was in the moment. And I don't think there's any other key that's harder today than this one. There are more distractors out there. There's more distractions than there's ever been before, and it's easier to get distracted than ever before. Don't raise your hand, but who checks? Who's on the phone right now? Who's checking? You know, and I'm not pointing you out because I'm the same way. I check myself. I have to check myself every day. Sometimes I'm checking Facebook, reading somebody's nonsense about what they're cooking for dinner or some crazy stuff, and I could be talking to my son about his day. I could be playing with my younger son at the park. I could be talking to my wife about what she's experiencing. Okay? I could be living in the moment, right? But I need to be real mindful of that. And that's something that the people living now have to be really mindful of, is how often are we getting distracted? Because it almost becomes like an addiction, man. I'll tell you this much, man. My son, when it's time for him to get off of Fortnite, because he'll play Fortnite, he turns into a different person, man, because he's got to shift into the present. And that was really powerful to me, because I learned how easy it is to get sort of so attached to the distractions that we're missing the moment in front of us. And really, truly, the moment in front of us is where our power is. It's where we can build our futures. Okay? So it's important to be mindful of asking yourself this question: how am I taking advantage of this moment? That's living in the now.
It's going to be a short one here, finding balance. So, you know what brings you happiness, you know what brings you joy. Maybe being in the building today brings you some happiness, brings you some joy. Maybe sitting in the same chair for 2 hours through 4 presentations doesn't bring you as much joy. Maybe it does. But if it doesn't, just make sure that you're mindful of that and you tell yourself that you have to make time for some happiness, or some joy later on today, okay? So we understand that it's going to be difficult in a remote situation when you're working from home 3 of those 5 days. It's going to be difficult being behind a computer. I wouldn't want to be behind a computer for that long, okay? I don't want to be by myself without the presence of my friends or my teachers, you know, as a student, right? So be mindful of that and just make sure that you find and make the most of every situation. Try that. And then also remember to just practice the things that bring you happiness and bring you joy so that you have a good balance going, okay? Because your well-being is important, okay? We think it's important. You should too. So you should make sure that you're mindful of that and always remember to sprinkle in those little bits of happiness throughout your week.
Okay, so communication. Let's just take another little different look, different shift when we talk about different perspective on communication. So let's look at it from the mindset of learning for a second. There's 2 things that we learned in education and 2 things that we're trying to correct. The first thing is that we know that people learn best when they're active with their learning. So you are active, not the teacher. The teacher isn't just giving it to you. I can't just tell you things and, that be the end of learning. You have to work with it. You have to be active in your mind and your actions in order to learn, right? I mean, that just makes sense. So we're changing education so that you can become a more active learner and learn better. The other thing about learning is it is messy, man. We tend to think about learning as, look, man, it's a process. The teacher does something here, we present some material, then I do some examples on my own, right? And then I prepare for a test, I take the test, and voila, I learned. Guys, when we move further into education, we start talking about complicated ideas, the end of learning. It's an important part of it, but it's not the end. Learning is a really messy process that involves you being confused. Think about it, in order to learn something new, you're going to have to be a little confused at times. And sometimes I know myself, when I don't understand something, I put a lot of pressure on myself. And I say, man, I should know this. Okay? That's the wrong approach. You got to be kind to yourself, right? You got to accept that, like, it's going to take a minute. Give yourself a minute to stay with that topic. Okay? Confusion is right where you should be. But when confusion leads to frustration, you know we got to make a little change. So here's how that change looks, okay, when we're thinking about questions. That change looks like this. We start to think about what we do know. Because with everything, we have some background knowledge. We start to think about what maybe we're having trouble understanding, and we formulate a question based on that. And questions are hard to ask, right? It takes a risk. Okay? But it's an important part of the process, because without asking questions, we can't get a response, and we can't think about it. And that's the next step. We think about it, and then typically, after we think about it, that typically leads to other questions. And that process leads over time to a better understanding, a deeper, more real understanding of a concept. Okay? But be kind to yourself. When you're frustrated and you don't understand something, take a step back before you get to frustration. Because when you are frustrated, I will tell you one thing, you will not learn. Okay? The other part is discussions. Okay? Discussions are going to look a whole lot different this year, right? We're not going to have time for a lot of in-class discussions, or as much time. So it's about adapting to a new type of discussion. And sometimes that might be an online discussion, being willing to take a risk to participate in an online discussion or ask a question. It might be about creating your own group to meet with, to have Google Meets and Zoom Meets just to make sure we're understanding or studying for a test together. Okay? Those types of things, it's going to be important to adjust to. But please know, the other thing, of course, is, if you're not comfortable asking a question verbally, there's this little chat feature, man. You can take that out, your teacher can see it. That might be a great way to ask a question. Another place you can get a lot of answers if you're smart with it is the internet. You get a lot, just make sure it's a reliable source. Okay? There's a lot of misinformation on the internet. There's a lot of opinions on the internet. There's also a lot of great resources. Okay? So the trick is finding your way to be active in your education. Being okay with taking that risk to ask questions and listen to responses, and finding your own way to be that active person in your education.
And speaking of communication, we know that it's easier to communicate with somebody that you have a working relationship with, that you feel comfortable with. And while you are going to meet your teachers later today, you don't really have you might have had a relationship with them, you may have had them in a different class, but for most of you, these are new individuals that you have to get to know under some different types of circumstances. So maybe after you meet them today, send them an email, tell them a little bit about yourself. I'm sure they would love to read a little bit about you so that you feel more comfortable when you do have questions to ask, okay, because that is going to be a big part of your learning. Aside from your teachers, just know that we are here for you. You have a dean, you have a counselor, there are a team of social workers here, administrators. We want to see you guys succeed. We are here to support you. We are here to help in any way, shape, and form that we possibly can to make sure that you are successful at the end of this school year ultimately. So just understand that there are individuals here who are here solely for you, okay? And just the last slide here, maybe something you want to take a picture of. If you have any technical difficulties with your Chromebook, you want to send an email to sos@d220.org if you're not here in person. And then the days that you are working from home, those 3 days, you do need to log in for attendance. You might be used to that from the spring, right? E-learning in the spring. And if you have any problems filling out that form, then send an email to elearning@d220.org. Okay? Do you guys have any other questions? Okay, this is the last presentation, okay? So you are actually going to be able to meet your teachers in just a few minutes here. Let me get the schedule out.
Yeah, you're going to follow your schedule first, second, third, fourth, or fifth, sixth, and seventh today. It's about 15 minutes with each, maybe 10 to 15 minutes with each teacher. So just one thing, first of all, I want to thank you. I hope something, you found some value in something that Miss O'Malley and I shared with you today, something that puts us in a positive mindset as you embark on a really important part of your academic career. For today, when you're dismissed, we really need you to follow the social distancing. I know you can talk to your friends and things like that, but please be mindful. We can't be in large groups together. We won't be able to do this. Okay, so help us out by staying apart. Okay?
6 feet.
6 feet. Okay, so as you go down the hallways, please do not gather in the hallways as you get to your first period. Okay? Have a great day, guys. I think you could start moving to your first period class.
Go out the back door,